Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Tech This Week. My name is Aplak. Hope all of you are keeping well. So, today I'm going to talk about something that I'm assuming most of you would have experienced lately, but few people talk about it. I'm going to talk about customer support today. Okay. Uh, Not long ago, if you recall, you had a problem, you called a number, toll free number, right? Waited for a few minutes, and eventually spoke to a person, right? But have you given it a thought? Now that doesn't happen that often. Most support interactions actually begin with automated systems, chatbots, AI assistants, and then some workflow the other, right? So they can understand the issue, they can probably explain the policy, but often they're not able to resolve the problem. And if you try to escalate, you're usually pushed into another automated loop. So, which raises a simple question, and that's the question I'll try to walk you through, and in my own way, see if there's ways around it. You know, and the question is, why has customer support become, in my personal opinion, so ineffective? To understand this shift, we need to start with a very basic reality. You know, you've got to understand one simple thing: customer support is expensive, right? Large platforms serve millions of users. So even if there's a small percentage of those, users who raise support tickets, the operation cost quickly becomes enormous, right? And this is where AI enters the picture. AI can respond instantly. It works 24 hours a day. I can handle thousands of conversations or, simultaneously. So from an operational standpoint, it's like having a breakthrough moment. But think from a customer standpoint, something subtly has changed in how these systems are designed. Have you given it a thought? Most AI support systems are not actually optimized for solving problems. They're actually optimized for reducing the number of problems that reach a human agent. Have you ever thought of this? Right? I've faced this many times. In other words, the system succeeds when the customer never needs to speak to a person at all. So the metric, quietly being improved is not resolution, it is reflection, right? Because this is why, many support interactions now feel strangely circular. Think the AI can recognize the issue, it can retrieve account information, it can experience the policy behind the issue, but it cannot often change anything about the issue. So the conversation loops, the AI apologizes, the customer repeats the request, the AI reiterates the policy until eventually, and that's what the system is built on, the customer gives up. Literally, the system worked exactly as designed. Just the thing is, it was not meant to support the customer. Right? Because eventually the customer kind of gives up. So what makes this even more interesting is that, technology is not to be blamed, right? I'll give you an example, right? Because some companies are using automation very differently. I'll give you an example. I have to take an example of Zomato here. When something goes wrong with an order, the system actually resolves the issue very quickly, right? The system doesn't just explain the problem. Understand what I'm saying? And this is why Zomato is a great example. It fixes it. Refund appears within minutes. Credits are applied almost instantly. The customer does not feel that they're actually negotiating with the system, right? They feel like the system is working on their behalf, on the contrary, which tells us something very, very important. The real difference is not the presence of AI. It is how much authority does the system have to solve the problem that you have. This leads us to a slightly, I'd say, uncomfortable question. If so many customers feel frustrated with automated support, why isn't this being discussed so openly? Part of the reason is simple. From a company's perspective, the system is actually working. Think through. Operation costs are lower, support teams are smaller, response time is much more faster on paper. So the automation layer actually is absorbing a huge amount of customer interaction. So the issue rarely appears as a crisis within the organization, understand? It is actually shown as efficiency. So, and when efficiency improves, the system rarely gets questioned. But at the same time, another shift is happening. Access to human support is increasingly becoming based on customer value. You know, I'll give you an example of enterprise customers get dedicated account managers. You see, premium banking clients receive prior service lines, right? Uh, Priority service lines. Sorry. If you have a high value customer, support often comes to you. But for regular users, the interaction increasingly begins and ends with automation. No company states this openly, but the message is becoming clear. Human attention is limited, right? And it is being allocated very, very selectively. Question that like I said in the beginning, this is belling the issue, problem. What do we do about it? But because if companies generally want AI-driven support to work better, a few structural shifts could make a difference. One approach is something what we might call as a human escalation guarantee. You know, Automation is essential at scale. I understand it. I'm not against that. But every support system, should have a predictable point where a customer can reach a human agent, not hidden in complex menus, not after endless retries. There's a clear and transparent, escalation path. That alone would remove much of the frustration that people are experiencing today. Second shift could involve giving AI systems, bounded decision authorities. What do I mean by this? Today, most AI agents can explain policies but cannot apply judgment. But many customer issues are actually routine, refunds below a certain value, service credits with a defined limits, subsidy reversal within a specific window. So if AI systems were allowed to resolve the cases directly, a large number of problems could be, closed instantly. Instead of acting as a gatekeeper, think of it, the AI actually becomes the resolver. That shift could be monumental. But here it is, right? Customer, support is one of the first places where people interact with AI in everyday life, right? And the experience that they have there will shape how they trust these automated systems more broadly. The interesting thing that is, AI itself is at a very early nascent stage. Yet, even at this stage, many customers already feel a sense of frustration when support becomes fully automated. Part of the frustration comes from something simple, like I said. Human interaction in customer service is becoming rare. In some cases, it is even becoming premium, right? So this is where it gets in. Now, imagine a slightly different proposition, and I'm completely turning the situation around. Imagine a company, decides not to automate a lot of its customer support, while everyone else focuses on AI-driven efficiency and automated workflows. This company chooses to offer something very different, you know, real human interaction as the USP for customer support. Think of it. How would you uh, look at it? In a world where most companies optimize for automation, that simple choice could become actually a powerful differentiator. That is the USP. Because in the age of AI, one of the most valuable service a company might offer is simply, the ability to be heard, empathized, and understood. I mean, this was a very powerful message from my perspective. I feel there's a lot of value to this. Uh, like I said, we are going through very interesting times as far as AI goes. More to hear from all of you. Have a great weekend.